It is already 6 years into the Buhari presidency. The first 4 was used to establish the administration's reputation as a no-nonsense, impartial government out to fight corruption to a standstill. This was welcomed by most Nigerians who were tired of the impunity with which government funds were stolen. But since the start of his second term 2 years ago, a group of Nigerians now say the support for the Buhari government has drastically waned. They say this is due to the fact that the government has had its hands full fighting a wave of insecurity that seems to get not better with every passing day. The insecurity that was largely limited to the northeast has swept across the country, taking different forms. In the northeast, it is the insurgency. It is the banditry and kidnapping in the northwest, the farmer-herder conflict in the north-central, and also attacks on communities by herder militia in the southwest. The secessionist agenda and agitations is prominent in the southeast, and the piracy is in the south-south. The top aides of this administration disagree that things have not greatly improved in the recent past. They say the government has been as impartial as it can be in ensuring infrastructural development across all geopolitical zones in the country. The minders of the administration have been at pains to point out that it is not necessarily due to maladministration on government's part, but global trends, which have had its impact on the country too. They insist the downturn in the global economy has been felt in the form of rising hunger in the land, while the rise in insecurity is a result of an increase in terrorist activities globally and the effect of instability in Libya on the Lake Chad Basin area and the Sahel region. How far can this be accepted as factors that have made living in a country considered the giant of Africa more difficult? I had a chat with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu. This is Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akonde. It's the anniversary of the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. It's 2 years into his second term, 2 years to the end of it, 6 years of the administration in all. A lot of people are saying that President Buhari and some people close to him will call him Baba. Some people say he has changed a lot, unlike when he came in 2015, when he said, I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody. But it appears as if there is this growing discontent among Nigerians now. How do you react to that?
Well, let me say that we understand that if you are in government, you are going to be criticized. So nobody should lose their sleep over criticism. You are wearing the crown. If they remove the crown from your head and they put it on another head, attention, criticism will move away from you to the next person. So it is not wrong to be criticized. And we have said it before, that perhaps President Buhari is a victim of the tyranny of expectation. Because I think assumptions have been made, wrongly so, that with a wave of the hand, all of the problems of the country will go, because we now have a president who is serious, who is committed to the nation, and who is selfless, who is honest. Now, all of these things have helped. And when you remember that at the time he came in, the major challenges confronting the nation were basically 3, and he identified them as being the priorities of his administration: attacking Boko Haram terrorism, restructuring the economy to reduce or at least move our economy away from over-dependency on a single commodity, oil, and fighting corruption. Now, whoever is objective and fair will admit that with Boko Haram terrorism, we have virtually closed that chapter. However, the challenge mutated, it changed. Because when you had pushed them out of much of the cities in the north to the fringes of Lake Chad, a few of those elements who were struggling for survival struck partnerships with the terrorists in distant lands. You're talking about Iraq, Syria, Libya. And you know what is happening, in fact, not only in the Lake Chad basin now, but in the entire Sahel, sub-Saharan Africa. Some countries, Mali, you pity their situation. So we're doing the best that we can confronting the new challenge. The thing about oil, and President has said agric is the way forward. And look at what is happening with agriculture today. When President Buhari came in, this country spent $5 million US every day to import rice. We don't import rice now. We don't import chicken. They are banned. So we have moved the nation closest to self-sufficiency in food production. And corruption, whether anyone likes it or not, look, even the change in the tone, in the moral environment in the country. Before Buhari came in, there are places where you go, they don't even think corruption is wrong. It's seen as a normative part of our national culture. Today, we have achieved beyond the conviction of high-profile individuals, succeeded in convincing a large section of the country into believing that corruption itself is wrong and don't do it. Yes. And a lot of people are abiding.
So many people will agree with you when you talk about agriculture and some other sectors where there are verifiable improvement, and all of these was achieved under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. But where people are concerned now is security, because it appears now as if security is everything. Without security, people cannot go to their farms. Even most of these achievements may eventually be eroded because of the height of insecurity. And that is where people are now saying it appears as if the government has performed poorly.
The government should be judged fairly. This is our own view. And I think that the critic, including maybe some sections of the media, should not be fixated to historic situations. And if you open the pages or put on the TV or radio, the discussion every day is growing insecurity, unending insecurity, worsening insecurity. This is the language you hear. Now, the big question is, yes, we had an upswing in cases, but you would also see that the challenges have kept changing from one thing to another. As I said, when he came in, the biggest issue was Boko Haram, bombings. You don't hear of that now. Bombings in the federal capital, United Nations office was bombed. Police headquarters in Abuja was bombed. People couldn't go to places of worship, mosques, churches. In many cities, they'll be bombed. That has gone away. But the administration was challenged after that by clashes between farmers and killings endlessly in the north central, particularly sections of the country. And whether anyone likes to believe this or not, that has been brought down substantially. Some states have celebrated peace, 1 year unbroken peace in north central. Challenges, project themselves here and there. The important thing is, how do we react to the challenges? How is President Buhari reacting? You can see then, after the farmers, that this thing about banditry and the kidnappings, particularly in the northwest, but even the southwest was also struck by banditry and the kidnapping. But I will tell you today, if you are doing a geo-mapping of the country in terms of security, perhaps the Southwest will pass as the most peaceful part of the country today. So, and in the Northwest, the epicenter, Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, they had a grip of the place. Again, now that is gradually being brought down. I think what we expect of Nigerians is these policemen, these soldiers, they are our own kinspeople. They are our brothers, they are our sisters, they are our fathers. Encourage them so that they will continue to accomplish more instead of putting them down as if they don't have lives of their own. They are fighting with their own lives so that all of us would sleep well in our homes.
So could there be a lack of understanding between the government and the governed? Because at the time, even President Muhammadu Buhari asked for understanding, that he wants people to show understanding, especially in getting military equipment, hardware, and all of that. He asked for that, but you know, is there that lack of understanding? Do you sense that lack of understanding?
Yeah, well, people make assumptions of military procurements that are wrong. A lot of these things, you don't go, they are not on the shelf. The weapons, the trucks, you know, the aircraft, you don't go on the shelf and just buy and bring back. Not only do you need money in a challenging situation where we have in the country, but there is also the political part of it. Don't forget, for instance, you look at the procurement of the 12 Super Tucano aircraft. We said we had Obama in the White House and a friend of Nigeria, friend of Africa. We struggled with him throughout that period. They didn't sell Super Tucanos. We're not being critical. It's their system. Much of the objection actually was coming from the Congress that stood in the way. But Donald Trump, whatever people will say of him, just put a call to President Muhammadu Buhari and said, look, I'm giving you 2 months to pay all of this money, and I will sell this to cars on a government-to-government basis. And here we are. From then to now, that's 2016 to now, we are expecting delivery by July of the first half a dozen of those aircraft. So it's difficult to procure. I think this is what the president is saying, show us understanding, because as it is, even when you procure new equipment, you need to train the trainers. The trainers will go to the field, train the forces on the ground in the use of the, and changes are happening every day. Technology is everywhere, including military warfare. But we are doing the best we can, especially given that we have a National Assembly that is very supportive of the executive arm of the government. And I'm sure very soon you are going to hear of approvals of massive amounts of money that will be used to procure weapons to support the military, so that we will finish off those that can be finished and certainly bring down substantially some of these things that concern Nigerians.
You know, the administration of President Buhari is its 2-year mark, this second tenure, and the pandemic struck, the global pandemic struck. A larger part of this 2 years has been trying to contain the pandemic, providing measures in different sectors and all of that. Different sectors were hit. Let's talk about governance. It also slowed down governance. But how did the government pick up? Because a lot of people say that this period also heightened that sense of non-inclusion. It was a lockdown, but people started to feel maybe locked out of the scheme of things. And maybe that's why we are hearing or having so many secessionist agendas, secessionist discussions here and there. How do you respond to that?
Well, you have put so much into this one, but I want to say that COVID presented a unique type of challenge to all nations of the world. So that doesn't leave out Nigeria. And the challenge is majorly in 2 fronts, in terms of health of people and in terms of well-being of economies. Everyone was in trouble over these things. And you must give it to this administration that on the entire African continent, We are the only country to have recorded positive growth, to have gotten out of recession. The entire continent had sunk to a level that had not been seen in the last 25 years in their own economies. And the struggle is, how do you first get out of the hole before you begin to be? And we have seen 2 quarters of growth now in Nigeria. Outside this country, maybe you are looking to China on the global scale. So we have done extremely well. How do we do it? We thank Providence for some things. Because, look, they said of this continent that by the time COVID takes hold on the continent, they'll be picking dead bodies on the streets. We haven't seen that. And in spite of all of the politics behind the sale of the vaccines, and you know that countries like those on African continent and the rich countries are doing what they call vaccine nationalism. They are holding on to it, and the sense they have is that until they satisfy their home audiences, they will not be exporting. But Providence has kept us much out of the trouble for much of the time. But in dealing with the economy, there have been so many policies that the government has put in place, which ensured that projections by international finance institutions, World Bank, IMF, that Nigerian economy will go down this far. At the end of the day, you find that it hasn't gone as deep as projected. We have held it up, and so it didn't take much time. And of course, this includes some of the things that are going on with the 2.3 trillion naira, COVID intervention stimulus fund, which has been applied in so many sectors, including the media in the country, industry, and particularly agriculture and ICT. So we have seen growth coming from sectors that are building up the economy, and that's why we're able to hold on. Whether this is having to do with the secessionist, unfortunate secessionist agitation, I have no knowledge of that. But the thing that is reassuring is that the overwhelming reasonable public opinion in the country is that Nigeria needs to be one, to continue as one, and that if there are difficulties or challenges we face, we can talk them over and resolve.
But how do we handle non-state actors who appears to be having that growing influence over the people and even trying to drag them to another direction against that unity that a lot of people are preaching?
I think the difficulty we have in this country is that much of the work, much of responsibility for regulation, people look to the central government, and that they seem to excuse other tiers of government and the traditional system of administration and control. When you look at it, there's a lot that state governments can do. There's a lot that local governments, when they are revived and they are alive, chairman can call security meeting in his own area. If he's not funded and the money is held else, he cannot even provide tea. He has to call DPO, Chief Security Officer of local government, DSS, everyone, prisons, police, traditional rulers, and all of that. Local government chairmen, some of them cannot even go to council areas because they don't have anything to offer to the people. So these are major issues that the government at the center is trying to work with the states to see we address. But our traditional rulers, wherever they are, they have played excellent roles in the past, and it is time, as the president keeps saying, that we revisit them and re-engage them. There's so much they can do in terms of social control. So with everyone playing their own part, we don't have to wait for one individual, Muhammadu Buhari, inside Asorok. Everything that happens, people say Buhari, Buhari, Buhari. Yes, the box stops on his table, but governance is a collective
Also
responsibility.
people should also take responsibility. That means you're saying that fingers are unfairly being pointed at just one man when there are people like even governors, maybe even ministers or some elected officials who are supposed to take up some things.
Government is a collective responsibility, and everyone has a part, including the man on the street. And we don't say we leave it to the president alone. This had happened in the past. President keeps playing up the role, particularly the traditional institutions have played in the past. They kept a watch over neighborhoods. Whoever came in newly, they were notified, and they knew the good and the bad who came into their own communities. And quickly they let, law enforcement know, and then action is taken where necessary.
But can we ever get back to that maybe good old day that you're talking about?
Well, people are saying that we are dealing with the digital age now, and that may not come. I've had a discussion certainly concerning those things, but you don't rule out those contributions. What are we talking about? The policemen probably deployed, say, the police IG said they have deployed about 3,600 policemen to counter the rising unwanted security situation in the southeast and the south-south. I'm just giving you this example. Now, 3,600 policemen may have come from many parts of the country. So if you come from Sokoto and you are deployed to an operation in Bayelsa, you need the local to lead you around, to show you your way. Otherwise, you will bungle it. So we just have to help them. That's the point one is trying to make.
Okay, the president made an attempt to strengthen institutions and of course, further entrench democracy. He signed the Executive Order 10 that gives autonomy to the state legislature and the state judiciary. But it appears governors are foot-dragging in implementing all of these, and are even beginning to question Mr. President, or begin to ask why Mr. President signed that order that they are not carried along, even though the intent and purposes of what Mr. President did was to strengthen institutions. And it appears that has cost so much for the country. How is the presidency reacting to this?
Well, I believe it will be sorted out, and they will come together, because this Executive Order 10 didn't just drop from the sky. The National Assembly carried out a constitutional amendment directing this financial autonomy for judiciary, state legislatures, and local councils as well. Is there in the Constitution. Executive Order 10 was warranted because although that amendment has been signed into law, there was the absence of compliance in many places. And so therefore, Executive Order 10 is supposed to push, the actors into the characters into action, so that there will be compliance with the law of the land. And yes, there is resistance in some places, and leading to all of these strikes that we are seeing now. But you also are aware that the unions and the states as a collective have reached an agreement, which means that we're getting to where we want to be, and the resolution is in sight.
Lastly, sir, it's the halfway mark, 2 more years to go. Are there still more to hope for?
Yes, I believe that the president is looking at the end of the period that he will be serving, and the legacy will be a major preoccupation for the administration in the coming 2 years. What have we done in the past, and how can we perfect our own legacy? Because every administration that wants to be remembered for what it has done, something that is good. So we have time. 2 years will be used in order to beat into shape those that don't seem to be properly in place, and those that can easily be conquered, achieved within the given period, will be prioritized. The president is an infrastructure person, and he has done so much with power, with the transportation, with the aviation, with the water resources, and all of that. We are hoping that those landmarks put in place or being put in place that don't seem to be visible enough, there will be visibility for them, and Nigerians will clap him out of office in 2023.
All right, thank you very much for your time. Madam Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thank you, I appreciate this.
There is still so much to be desired with just 2 years left in the life of President Buhari's administration. How quick will the government ramp up efforts towards securing lives and property and ensuring the well-being of citizens? Well, that is the much we have for this week's discussion on salient national issues. Do follow me on Twitter. My handle is @FemiAkonde TVC. Thank you for watching.